TVOT.
This is the Galvanizing a Developer community, and anybody who's been in this industry for any time knows that that's kind of at the heart of whether there's any success at it or not. If you don't have any developers, you don't have anything to showcase or to sell. So I think Will's almost.
We have just a couple slides that's going to come up, but we're going to basically.
Will Kreff.
Hi. We have a great food today to speak for the topic of Galvanizing developer community, and myself, Will Kreff, Senior Director of Advanced Video Strategy at Time Warner Cable, and also the founder of OEDN, which is now Cable Dev, which is cable development in focus. We've renamed the OCAP eBIF Developer Network, and we'll talk some more about that over the next coming year. We'll be revealing more about what that means, changing our focus away from just exclusive around OCAP True Two-Way and eBIF to looking at development of applications on multiple screens and two companion devices. But I'd like to go down the row here and let everyone introduce themselves, starting from the far end. And if you could.
Good morning. My name is Jerry Johnson. I work in the media and entertainment practice at HCL. HCL is a $6 billion, 80,000 person kind of global IT services company. Not obviously all of them work in this space, but in this area, I think that's pertinent to all of you. We've been doing a lot of work with a lot of programmers and cable operators in the spaces of not only development of edge user experience applications, but all the way through the digital value chain. Prior to that, I spent a lot of time, 11 years at HSN, so I know quite a few people and I've been in this space, seeing it evolve, thankfully, positively in the right direction over the last couple of years.
Hi, I'm Greg Thompson. I work at Comcast in advanced product development. We're a group that's in the CTO organization under Tony Werner, and there's a lot of really smart technology people in that group, and then there's some of us who aren't so smart who work in the business and product side with them. And our job is to help develop new technologies and products to feed the regular products at Comcast, whether that's video or data or voice or new services. In terms of developer communities, I've been involved in interactive television for far too long. And I worked at Navio, which became Liberate, and then I worked at Meta TV, where we helped develop and lead the eBIF platform. And now, in the last couple of years, I've worked directly for Comcast to hopefully help complete the job of making things work for developers on cable.
I'm Eric Miller. I'm with Flashlight Engineering and Consulting. We are a software development company, an application developer who is trying to become galvanized. I was thinking a tinfoil suit might be good, actually, but I've been developing software for consumer electronics for about 25 years now, the last dozen of so for the cable world. And we've written legacy applications and software for the old Motorola and Cisco systems. We've written OCAP, we've written eBIF. We've worked a lot on those standards over these last 10 years. We can joke about how 5 years ago eBIF was the standard that had to come out that year because it was going to beat OCAP. I guess it's well, arguably it did. Absolutely true. We've seen a lot of the struggles that application developers go through. Now in this brave new world, we're trying to bridge the OCAP and eBIF environments into the mobile environments and play with those challenges, and it's interesting to see how that's all been coming together.
So I'm Sam. I'm an Aries. I'm trying to work out how much to share. I guess the highlights are we do play out technology. Softail. I started Softail in 2001 here in California. Work with a bunch of the companies that are on the panel. We do streamers or carousels to get the interactivity to the right set top at the right time. Sounds easy. In fact, it's a little bit of a challenge sometimes. We love what Will's been doing with cable dev right now. Okay, I've got to rebrand, rethink, rebrand, and it's still early. Yeah, I wanted to come onto the panel and just support what Will's doing because he's done a great job. We see that the creative side of the industry really needs to flourish for it to do well. Softel's focused on managed services, so satellite, cable, digital terrestrial, and connected TVs, but so managed services rather than over-the-top systems or broadband systems at least. And I could talk for hours, so you know I'm an Aries, and that's probably enough.
Okay, my name is Juan Pablo Genico, and I come from Mobile. It's a company in Atlanta. We're completely focused on building TV applications for connected TVs. We are focusing right now on Google TV and Samsung platform, and we're completely new to the world of TV. And but we have been building applications for social, for consumers on the web for a very long time. So creating virtual worlds and multiplayer applications. And when we saw the TVs becoming connected, we said, well, this is going to be great. Now it's the real big screen, and we're going to be able to do amazing things. So we started building TV apps, but quickly saw the difficulties of the remote control and how unfriendly that was for consumers. So we decided to create a technology to use smartphones to connect to the TV. So in the smartphones that we're so used to using, and it's so easy for us now, we can connect with all our friends and we can make it very social. And we have the beautiful screen instead of being at a desk that's kind of not conducive for entertainment. Now we have the beautiful screen, we have the connectivity. What was missing was the layer in between. So we created that platform that connects the TVs with the smartphones. And everybody has a smartphone, and we think every TV is going to be web connected very soon. So we think we have something special.
Great, great. So only two of our panelists today have slides, and I'd like to hit those first so we can get into our discussion. Juan Pablo, we have your slides up now, and I'd like to just take a couple minutes to let you walk through them. And then we have Eric Miller's slides, just for a couple on the Flashlight Consulting, his company. And then I'm going to ask the panelists some questions about where they want to see the developer community in a couple of years, and also what struggles they've seen in working with platforms like Samsung and connected TVs, and where they see room for improvement in the developer communications and developer community. So Juan, let's go through the model slides.
Sure. So just wanted to give an idea of what we do visually. So this is a Samsung TV, and this application we built for Samsung platform and Google TV. Actually, Samsung gave us an award for this application. It's kind of a Pictionary on TV. So on your phone, you get connected, and everybody around the TV will start to play. So one user gets a secret word, and you have to draw it. If you go to the next slide, you can see somebody's drawing, gets the word, they're trying to draw it, and people get connected to the TV and start to guess. Simple game, but very engaging, a lot of music, the announcer is talking, and people are just having fun. We did it basically as a test for our platform to demonstrate how you can get connected to TV, and it was a hit since we did the prototypes, the kids loved it, and then we got the big award, so we were happy with that. We did another example of the same use of technology. Of course, we build for Android and iPhone and for different platforms. Right now, what is available is Samsung and Google TV, and it's a video jukebox. So what you do, imagine you walk in a bar, you get your phone out, and you see the TV there. You suddenly can get connected to the TV very easily. Maybe it discovers you, or maybe you type a code on your phone, and you can choose this music video you want to see, and then it suddenly displays. If somebody else is playing a video, you get in a queue, and if you want your video to go up, you ask people to vote for it, and it will go up. or people can vote you down, and it's kind of a social a game there trying to get your video to play faster. If you go to the next slide, then there's a lot of social activities, like if you don't like the video that's playing, you can throw virtual tomato to the screen. and
Poor Miley.
you can also, the beauty of it is you not only get connected to the screen, but it serves as a hub for a social connection. So you see who else is connected, what kind of video they're playing. You can send them secret messages, flirt, I mean, all that kind of fun stuff. So this one is also something that people have received very well. And we lately developed this one that was launched at Google I/O, which is poker fun. So kind of the same idea. You hold your cards in your hand, in your smartphone, and the table is on the screen. So you have a social activity. You can also play one living room against another living room, and get connected that way. If you go to the next, you can see a little bit of how the game looks. When you start, you select how you want to look, and you have your bets, and you can take a peek at your card on your phone, etc. But really what we're focused on building is this platform that can connect TVs to phones. And there's 3 flavors of the platform. One that is a direct connect, where the phone is connected to the TV directly, so you can, in real time, you could control an action game like with the phone just directly. There's the Cloud Connect, so similar to what you saw with the WeDraw and WeTelly applications, where you're connecting to the cloud and then to the TV. And then one that we call Crowd Connect, when it's very social and you can connect to many people to big screens like jumbotrons at stadiums and things like that. So that's the Mobile Connect platform. Thank you.
Okay. So, I had asked everyone for just 3 slides, so Juan coming with 8 slides. So it's okay. We're gonna work through this. This is okay. Eric did come in with 3 slides. He told me just right under the wire, and a beautiful shot of the city of Portland, Oregon. Here, Eric, could you tell us a bit about Flashlight?
Yeah, the Broadway Bridge in our office there. You can just flip to the next slide, actually. I compressed my 8 slides down to 2 by putting more than one picture on a screen. But just make them smaller. We've been working over the last year or so to develop a sort of a suite of applications that connects different screens and different worlds together, reutilizing a lot of the content that already exists out there in the webosphere, and that a lot of the broadcasters have already produced for their iPad apps, for their websites, and trying to bring this concept of the microsite or the branded portals into the television. And as with many smart TVs, we're used to seeing now some type of a widget bar or application launcher. We believe that in the connected cable universe, that these kinds of things will also start to develop, where you're linking into your various favorite sites, whether those are channel-based or television program-based, and that can lead you into then richer experiences branded around whether it's news, entertainment, or other things. Getting clips of the webisodes that they may publish on the web now, but we think that there's no great reason why those should not be also viewable on your primary screen, because that's where you're sitting when you want to entertain yourself with your family. You can flip to the next slide. The other thing, of course, is because connected universe is what's in front of us right now. We know that the 2-screen experience exists, and so we've also been incorporating into those same branded sites the concept that you have your mobile apps running on a mobile device, such as in this case an iPad, as well as your experience for those people who don't have those smartphones and mobile devices, that you still want a very similar experience on your television. And again, reusing the same assets, reusing the same content databases, or being able to control and connect between the two, so that from your iPad you can bring up shows that might play through your VOD or DVR onto your television. And so I know a lot of different companies are doing that. We're trying to work with the operators and with cable labs to make that simpler for everyone, so that there's finally a consistent interface, and we don't have to care what guide you're running and what platform you're on and whose box it is and whose middleware and which version of that particular middleware you're using. That's been a hugely frustrating thing for us as application developers. And to sort of segue into the question of how do you create a rich and engaged application developer community, and for us, it comes down to platforms. You have to have volume and consistency across those platforms. And although there are tens of millions, hundreds of millions of cable devices out there, there isn't really that consistency that says it's easy to develop for all of them all at the same time with one shot. The publish once, test everywhere isn't really the answer. It's publish once and run everywhere, where we know we have to get. And that's one of the big challenges of that.
Well said. Yeah. So the slide and plug portion of our presentation is over, but just wanted to say, leading into that exactly. So a couple years from now, if we're looking back at today and saying, where would we like to be with both application development and the relationships, the business relationships out there that both benefit everyone in the value chain, from the operators to the developers, the programmers, all the people up and down the value chain. Where do you think we need to be, starting with Greg?
2 years from now?
Yes.
All right. Hopefully talking about a lot of new cool stuff here 2 years from now. I think one of the key things that we see, that I see and others in the cable distribution side see, and people like Eric as well, is giving people, consumers, a much more seamless and enriching experience as they're finding shows to watch, as they're watching shows, really being able to give them something that's comprehensive, integrated, and seamless. And it's funny that cable's done that with video for all these years, and we have the opportunity to do that with interactive experiences as well. And we've kind of put our 1 foot in the water with eBIF, but as Eric was saying, there's different set tops, there's different platforms. Each MSO is doing kind of different things. Even eBIF, we didn't accomplish. We had a spec, but we didn't accomplish a uniform footprint. So we're looking at this saying, well, we already do video in an integrated, seamless way. How do we, galvanize a developer community so that they'll want to participate in cable and distribute these great experiences they're doing on other platforms, and have that be part of the cable experience in a way that consumers, again, can find it easily. It's right there when they're looking for programs to watch. So I think in 2 years, right now we see a lot of disparate platforms. I mean, there's certainly Apple and iOS that has a huge footprint, and that's one place where everyone's going and putting apps and doing lots of stuff, and it makes a lot of sense. There's reach or scale. There's a clear business model. There's a reason to do it. And Android is another one coming along. I guess there's a little more complication with Android. And then there's these, sort of connected TV platforms where there's some Yahoo stuff, and there's some Flash stuff, and there's some HTML stuff, and I think in 2 years we'll see that shake out, and I think cable will play a big role in helping to shake that out and make a more uniform distribution environment and a more seamless experience for our subscribers anyway.
Thanks. Jerry, where do you think we should be in about 2 years?
So if I think about from a developer perspective and a developer community perspective, I think it's really not too difficult to kind of envision that, because what you really have to look at is where are other developer communities today, right? I mean, they're thriving. If you look at a .NET community or a Java community, or communities that have really been innovating today, existing communities, it's not like we have to recreate the wheel, right? So I think a lot of those key essences that have supported the growth of those communities are things that are important to be prevalent for these new communities that we're trying to kind of nurture. So when we look at, I think there needs to be, from a developer perspective, a clear path as far as how do you develop an app, how do you get an app launched, right? I think that today is a bit hazy, and I think really developers are not going to embrace a platform if they invest all this time, but really they can never get anything launched. So I think that's one really important thing is across platforms, be it connected devices, set-top box development, eBIF, all those kind of things, is that clear path as far as how do you get apps developed and deployed, I think is very important. I think the second thing is you should look at developers as an ecosystem, right? The first touch point from a developer is not the handoff of the application. It's not that certification part. It's that from day one, what are the tools that you need? What are the enablement type of things that a developer would need to have to actually get their app in a reasonable state, whether it be simulators, emulators, documentation, peer support, all of those kind of things. So these are things that are already happening in other developer communities. I think we should not look at kind of business modeling developers to death. I think you should look at platforms. I think it's really important, obviously, at the end of the day, that there's money to be made in that. But I think we should take a page out of what already other communities are doing and are very successful at, instead of thinking of new ways to come up with things.
Sam, I can tell you've got something to say.
Well, a couple of things, I think. I agree with everything that's been said, but maybe coming at your question from a slightly different angle, I think that, in fact, Alfred Jr. and I were having breakfast this morning, and we were talking, and they were our own personal views, not the views of necessarily Softel or Kenny Ventures, disclaimer applies. But we were talking about, rolling a couple of years forward and where we'd like to be, and we were looking at the parallels with Europe. And I often hate to talk about what's going on in the UK and Europe because of my accent. Everyone then assumes we're focused over there. We're not. We're actually focused here. But the really cool, exciting stuff is, to my mind, where interactive TV, and the phrase was reused yesterday, it's an old phrase, an enhanced TV, where we actually enhance the television experience. And some cool apps that we're playing out at the moment over in the UK are, for example, X Factor, which is Simon Cowell's mammoth show that's on its way to our shores here. Enjoy that. But historically, what the broadcast have been doing was telling guys to go off, pick up their phone, go on the web, text or phone, and what they found was, in their research, was often they were losing viewers from the viewer experience. The broadcaster selfishly wants people watching their broadcast as much as possible, or at least interacting with their brands and their broadcast. So they developed Press Red, which is, we talk about platforms, and the standard, and it is completely standard, it's ubiquitous in the UK. You press Red on a remote control and you get interactivity. And
we're really jealous of that.
I know, I am too. But anyway, the reason I bring that up is it's now got to the point where viewers expect to be able to vote on Britain's Got Talent, X Factor, all these other wonderful shows, that they want to be able to vote for the talent without having to go off and pick up the phone or pick up the computer, find they've got an email and forget the broadcast altogether. And so the crunch point for me, and again, rolling forward a couple of years, is that the show now, the Ryan Seacrests of this world, are now standing up and saying, please vote for your favourite act. And one way to do that is interact with your television. Pick up your remote, hit select or OK, which is another nightmare area we've all got to contend with. And that's really exciting. I'm unfortunately, I can't share the stats with you from ITV, unfortunately named long before our industry, but independent TV. But they're very, very compelling. How many viewers choose to press red and vote that way than choose to pick up their phone or vote online or text? So I'm hoping those figures are going to come public before too long. But it's very, very, very compelling. So that's where one thing I'd like to say. There's a whole bunch of others, but I don't want to take too much time. But
I just want to say that's a good. The point. One of the points there is how easy it is to do that. Right? I mean, it's entertainment. It's TV. People are sitting, in their living room or wherever. An iPad companion app could be very fun and very easy to use with television, or a couple of buttons, or a couple of key presses on the remote. But if you make it more complicated than that, and I think everyone here understands that, then it just would be hard.
I totally agree. And one of the other things that viewers hate is when you take over the experience and make it only an interactive experience. In other words, you expect all they want to do now is interact, so you get rid of their video and shrink it down to a tiny thumbnail. They're watching a show, they're not watching interactive television. They want to have interactive TV enhance the television experience. That's what we're aiming for. And Sky Sports and Sky News and so on have done some wonderful stuff. Next time any of you are in the UK, drop by my house and I'll show you what you can do.
He's going to give you your address after this session. Lenny's going to get the address. Thank you, Sam. I mean, one of the things that came to my mind to bring it back to the present is to dig into little bits of war stories, micro war stories about developing for the connected TV environment. Juan, I know by being a winning developer on the Samsung platform, you must have some stories about building toward the Samsung environment. Can you share?
Sure. For us, the connected TV is really the only way we can operate right now. We are very far removed from developing on set-top boxes, and we hope that the growth of connected TV is going to be very fast. We see it coming. We see the growth of the iPhone and the smartphones happen. We see that coming on TVs. So we're excited about what Samsung was doing. We think it's early days, and it was really challenging to get on the development kit and understand it. And they have a big operation in Korea, and there were language barriers, and it was difficult, but they were very helpful, and we really partnered up and were able to launch the applications. But as the TVs become newer, then they get new features in, and we start to have different versions. So now 2010 is not compatible with the 2011 TV, so now we have to support 2 different applications, and that's just one platform. And then comes Google TV, which fortunately has some of the tools are common, but so we use Flash in some, but one is a very old version of Flash. This is a very new version, so now we have like 6 versions. And that, coupled with having Android and iOS and then BlackBerry, we have to maintain too many applications. So of course, what we hope to see is more standardization, and I think it will come. I know Google and Samsung talk a lot about how they can join efforts, and I think towards perhaps Flash or HTML5, there's going to be some standards that make it a little bit more easy. But we truly believe that the movement of a lot of the things that happen on the web coming to TV is going to be very good, and we have all that experience with building those applications, and we think standards are going to be a little bit closer, but right now we think it's a nightmare.
He thinks it's a nightmare. Someone tweet that, please. It sounds like it probably is a little bit of a nightmare. Eric, tell us about where do you see standards needing to go, but in a sense of how we get there quickly, too.
Well, I would share some of the same experience, in fact, of saying that as we were developing some OCAP applications with Comcast a few years ago, one of the things that we instantly discovered was those 400 connected OCAP TVs that were built with a OCAP 1.0 standard before 1.0.1 or 1.1.1 that fixed all those things. But working backwards, even in a brand new environment, I heard Time Warner talking about their legacy OCAP devices and how they're going to deal with their legacy OCAP. And I'm thinking, how did we get here already when we haven't really even fully embraced that yet? What we would love to see with the cable standards is simply to be done, to stop innovating for at least a year or two.
That's quotable too.
because because we think that they're good enough to build really attractive, intriguing software from, and you don't have to be the very best standard of all time that will last for 50 years. No, let's build some things that will last 5 years, 10 years, and I think that what we have now is actually pretty darn good, and we just want to see that be deployed and fully realized so that you can build from it. And one of the problems I think that we've seen as application developers who are chasing those standards is the bright shiny thing that's always 18 months away. And no matter how good what we have now is, there's this bright shiny thing. Oh, we got to go. Let's deploy that thing. Well, oh, let's deploy that next thing. And so that's what we want to see in the standards is just bake it. It's baked. It's done.
A little more, the buzzword of 2010 is agile, right? Agile. So yeah, and that's the new mantra in a lot of development shops, or maybe it's old mantra actually. Greg, what do you think? Well, you've got Xfinity, we've got the Time Warner Cable iPad application. Developers are going to be looking at the operators to say, what are you guys going to do with this way to deliver authenticated video? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a new world. There's a lot of new devices coming to the market that are obviously connecting to the internet and getting a lot of video. And Comcast looks at it as really two problems to solve. And Eric, I wish we could be done. You and I could go have a beer and you could get lots of business.
Yeah.
But it's getting our own sort of Xfinity experience onto the devices that consumers are going to use, whether that's an iPad or an Android tablet, or a lot of the connected TVs that are coming out, and that's sort of one part of it. The other part of it is making sure that experience is actually something consumers will enjoy. And in today's world, where there are tons of applications out there, a lot of them having to do with video, we can no longer put out your father's cable company guide and call it a day. Even today, Xfinity experience on an iPad is cool, and I'd rather use my iPad to find something to watch than my guide on the set top. But it's still a cable guide. It doesn't really have bigger wings than that it should have in today's world. So the other half of it is how do we make the guide much more of a platform, and how do we embrace our partners initially and other partners, new partners going forward, to give people really the coolest experience they can get around video? Because if we don't do that, of course other people are doing it, so we'll lose out. So we have to do that.
I've been told we have 10 minutes, and I would like to take some questions, but anything else from the panelists before we go into Q&A?
One thing I wanted to say was on technology and standards is we have, we've done OCAP, we've done EBIF. I think finally most of the people agree at Comcast and others that leveraging web standards is the right answer. So EBIF is real and deployed now. OCAP is deployed now. Eventually, I think we'll converge on a lot of HTML5, and that may obviously not in our legacy set-tops, of course, but in these new devices. We're working in the CE community to get a bunch of people on board with HTML5 as an open standard for applications for our own apps and for of course partner apps.
We have 8 minutes now. So let's take some questions.
Well, more of, a question/comment. OEDN, now Cable Dev, has been very instrumental in building up a developer community. Chip over here sitting next to me, Softel, S&T has helped us at a university set up equipment. OEDN has resources available out for developers. But I still believe there's not enough. There needs to be more support from the industry in terms of contributing to the developer community. Like I said, S&T, Softel, OEDN have done quite a bit. Just a quick example, 2 weeks out, Microsoft's coming to campus to train 50 students in .NET, going back to your point. Something like that needs to happen to galvanize, like you say, the developer community. So be it developing apps for the Droid, for the iPad, or for eBEF, what can the industry across the board do to increase the interest and the number of developers in this community?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of different answers, but one of the things I think is that you've got to make tools available for the community that aren't expensive. You can't expect people to go out and buy a huge head end, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and expect everyone to have that in their room where they're making some cool iPhone apps and the next big bright thing. In fact, we're working with some of the guys on the panel and others where I don't want to do a plug, so I won't even mention the product name. But it's important that there's product out there that you can simulate and go beyond simulation. You can actually have a real set top and check what the results are going to look like. We're doing a whole bunch of work with people like Cable Labs, Canoe, and so on, to make the certification process far simpler, far quicker, and it needs to be. The other thing that I think will really help is having, it sounds kind of cliched, but having competitions, has been very popular on other platforms where, we've seen this on Google, we've seen this on whole different other areas. If we could have, and actually we're having conversations proactively about putting this together. If we can have competitions that give a serious reward to someone who can come in, make a cool app, something new, something that's maybe not a killer app, but something that's really going to make things better for the viewer, enhance the viewer experience, that would be a really good thing. So, and just very quickly, well, if I may, just to say, HBB TV was mentioned yesterday. I keep sounding like a total European here, but it's worth mentioning that in Germany and France, in particular, HBB TV, yet another acronym, HBB TV, is becoming quite interesting. It's a hybrid platform of connected TV and broadcast standards, mixing a lot of the best of both. But crucially, it reuses a lot of what's out there already. So keep an eye on that, because I think we'll probably see more of that. I hate to introduce yet another standard though.
I see Beth. Oh, go ahead. We have before Don. We're stealing from
Sorry.
Beth.
So there's developers and there's developers. There's shops that specialize in certain kinds of development. There are the proverbial garage guys, but then there's the programmer content guys. And I wonder if you could characterize what are those developers looking for, and how do you attract them to the cable platform?
Great.
Will?
Oh well,
No.
we talk with them. I mean, but I would like to leave it up to anyone else perhaps wanted to chime in regarding those conversations. I mean, all I can say briefly is that we do talk with programmers all the time. It's just a matter of saying now, in the new world of connected devices and CE, there's new opportunities which are still pretty embryonic, pretty nascent at this moment. But on the CE platforms, on the connected TVs, Juan, do you have any experience in those conversations that you could share, or anyone?
I think the big barrier that we see is access to the real features in the devices that can control the TV programming. That has been a barrier, and we know it's there. There's political issues. There's technical difficulties, but it's mostly I think blocked by the business, where developers don't have access to the real tools of the programming. So I think that is what is missing for us to really create compelling interactive TV. So yes, we can create applications, we can match things that are happening here and here, But if we don't have real access and control to the TV programming, then it's going to become difficult. And we know they have the ability to give it to us, but they hold it back, and we don't understand the reasons. What we I don't understand the reasons.
It all in time, I imagine, be revealed. Jerry, you worked at HSN quite some time. Could you share?
So I just have actually an answer or a comment that addresses Donio's question and the other gentleman's question. So from a programmer perspective, trying to get some of those assets or some of those tools, even if the shop wanted to take on development in-house, I think is really important. Forget about the investment in Moto head end and an SA head end and all that stuff. If you get streamers and emulators, but set-top boxes, user agents, those things are really difficult to get, right? There's not an easy path. Yes, they'll sign up all the paperwork and all that stuff that's needed to get that we won't redistribute it, but just getting access to the user agents, whether it's the Cable Lab reference eBIF user agent to start doing some development and so on, I think those are really big hurdles today. Even if a programmer wanted to start that development and build those teams in-house, right? If they say we want to make the investment in the infrastructure, let's get the environment set up, there are definitely hurdles available that are very real today over there. The other thing is, as development starts moving towards connected devices, where some of those hurdles have gone away and software is freely available, I think you still have a lot of those challenges. But I think at the end of the day, it's some of the support, whether it be from the Samsungs of the world or the hardware manufacturers or the CE guys and so on, that will really help the developers thrive in this community.
I think it's
I
a
would
business.
just add quickly, in talking with the programmers about apps development, interactivity, and video, as you guys know, I mean, their first thought is how do we enhance our business model today? And with video, of course, it's Nielsen ratings, it's linear advertising, some degree of on-demand advertising. And then as they create these experiences outside of their core video, so on a tablet or a connected TV, they're looking at those to create awareness, to get viewership, so that drives eyeballs back to their linear, again, hopefully impacting their Nielsen rating and their advertising revenue. So all the conversation is, I love the technology, wish it was a single platform, I want easy tools, low expensive development, but at the end of the day, how am I enhancing my existing linear, for the most part, business?
Where the revenue flows.
Yeah.
But I think it's also an opportunity to get into that business, which is going to be as big as the present television business. I think I think everything is shifting. People want the content that is coming from the web channel, and I think there has to be that movement in that direction. I hope so. I do like the fact that Comcast, for example, is investing in thinking about the HTML and the more web-oriented technologies, which is going to make it very big, I think, because there's so many developers that would jump in.
It's a bigger pond. Suzanne?
I think it's 10:30 and we have to close the session, but give everybody a big hand.
Thank you, everybody.